Hey, Dr. Libby here. I wanted to make you a video and show you how to do the adrenal stress test from ZRT Laboratories. The box should be arriving in the mail soon to you. And when you open up that box, you're going to find several things in there. You're going to find a little baggie with 3 little tubes in it, another baggie with 1 large tube in it. You're going to find in there an envelope. That's what you put the test kit back in to ship it back to the lab in. And then there's also a postage mailing label that you're going to affix to the bag to ship it back in. And then there's going to be 2 pieces of paper within that box. One is a saliva instruction sheet, and the other is a test requisition form. Okay, let's talk about all of those right now. I'm going to start with the saliva testing instructions, and I'm going to tell you the instructions, but you can review back to this paper if you have any questions. First of all, let me start by saying some of the information on the form does not apply to you because we're not checking your sex hormones with this test kit. So, I'll tell you what is applicable and what is not. Step 1 says choose your collection day. This does not need to be overcomplicated. Really, what you want to do is you want to choose a day that's representative of a normal day in your life. So typically it's a work day, not a lazy Sunday or a day that's particularly restful for you. That's atypical of what your normal days look like. You also don't want to pick a ridiculously stressful day if that's out of the norm for you. So for instance, if you very rarely give presentations, but there's one day that you have to give a big talk in front of a big audience and that's really stressful, that might not be the best day to do the test. Also, if you have to appear in court for like a traffic violation, like that's extra stressful, you probably don't want to pick that day either. Just a normal run-of-the-mill day, okay? It says here for menstruating women to think about when your cycle is. Disregard this. This is only if we're testing your sex hormones. If we're testing the adrenal hormones, this is not applicable. So you do not have to pick the right day in reference to your menstrual cycle, okay? Step number 2 is for hormone users, and it says to skip this step if not using hormones. You can pretty much skip this step since we're not testing the actual hormones, but there are a couple of things that actually do apply. So the second to the last thing says 7 keto DHEA. If for some reason you're taking 7 keto DHEA, that will interfere with the DHEA result. So you need to stop that for 3 days prior to collecting your saliva. Also, if you're taking steroids, those need to be avoided as well. So steroids could be as simple as like a hydrocortisone cream. Say you have a rash or a skin condition and your doctor has recommended hydrocortisone, that can affect it. And we usually like to hold that for, if it's just a cream, 48 hours prior to testing should be sufficient. But if you're actually taking like a prednisone taper or you recently had an injection in your knee of steroids, it can take up to a month to get that out of your system. So please reach out to me and I'll let you know exactly what to do with your particular situation. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably aren't on those things, and so not to worry. Step 3 is to prepare for collection. The first thing it says is to avoid any anti-aging or anti-wrinkle creams for 3 days prior to testing, as they may contain undisclosed hormones. Usually that does not apply to what we are doing. That is more of a sex hormone issue. So probably don't need to be too worried about that. And then it says, do not eat or drink anything except for water or brush your teeth prior to your first collection of the day, or for 2 hours prior to collecting throughout the day. And that is important. So you want to do your first morning sample in the morning before you even brush your teeth or have your breakfast. Then you want to do your lunch sample before you eat lunch, your dinner sample before you eat your dinner, and your bedtime sample before you go to bed, but not right after having a snack. Okay. So it's fasting. Generally, these samples are collected that way. Okay. On the back of that sheet, it tells us about the collection timetable, and you're going to be looking at the 3rd row down where it says 4 under the number of tubes. So you're going to be using the large tube upon awakening. And then one of the small tubes before lunch, one before dinner, and then one before bedtime. And so what you're going to do is you're going to collect the first tube within 30 minutes of awakening before you brush your teeth or eat your breakfast. So you get up, get out of bed, and then you start to let the saliva pool in your mouth and you spit it into the tube. And then you let some more pool and you spit it into the tube and some more. And it feels like it's going to take forever. It can take up to 15 to 30 minutes to get this tube more than halfway full. You need to be halfway full as the bubbles settle down. So it does take quite some time to get that much saliva in there. If you're having trouble getting the saliva, smelling some food, yawning, putting the tip of the tongue up against the roof of your mouth, all can help get that saliva flowing. Then put your name on the tube and the time and the date, and you can set that one aside. And then you're done until right before lunch. Then you're going to do the same process right before lunch where you're going to collect a tube. This time it's smaller, so it's a little bit less saliva. And you're going to fill that tube halfway up, put your name, time, and the date on that tube. Then you're done until right before dinner time. You're going to take the next tube full of saliva, just like before you eat dinner, and fill that tube halfway up. And the last tube is going to be right before bedtime. Fill it up halfway by collecting the saliva. Put the tubes back in the baggie that they came in, and that little absorbent pad is there for a reason. In case it spills, they can get the saliva off that pad. So you're going to put the big one back in this bag and the small ones back in this bag. And then you're going to put those back in the little box that it came in, along with the requisition form. So we still have to fill that out. So at the top, it's very self-explanatory. Section 1 is just your individual information, name, address, date of birth. The second section is for women only. It's asking about your menstrual cycles. And then the third section, the top part is for women and the bottom part is for men, and it's asking about symptoms. You mark 0 if you don't have that symptom at all, 1 if it's mild, 2 if it's moderate, and 3 if it's severe. So just fill out the appropriate section if you're a female or a male. And on the back, you're just going to list any hormones that you may be on. And then under 5, you're going to list the actual times that you collected your saliva samples. So if you woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you collected it at 6:30 a.m., write down 6:30 a.m. If you had your lunchtime one at 12:15 p.m., mark that down so they know exactly what time you did it. And then the panel test should be filled in based on how we ordered it for you. The payment should also be filled in. They should be billing me directly for that, so you don't need to put any payment information. But please go ahead and sign that form. Fold that form back up, put it in the box with your saliva samples, and then take that entire box with everything in it, place it in the envelope, and then place the mailing label on top of the envelope. And then you can drop it off at the nearest UPS location. It's postage paid, so you just drop it off. They'll mail it to the lab, and voila, the results will be coming to us soon. Yeah, so it's a bit of a commitment, right, for saliva samples in one day, but the results are worth it. It's going to show us a lot about what's happening with your hormone levels throughout the day. And this really has a huge impact on how we feel. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please reach out to us and have a beautiful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.